Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Welcome to Rock Solid Radio, and this is Merle Hutchinson sitting alongside my better half, Linda Hutchinson. How are you doing today, babe?
I'm good. Do you realize that you've been my better half for more than half our life? This week is our anniversary.
That's right.
Yeah, you do remember, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember how many years?
34 years.
Very good.
34 years coming up at the end of this week, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So we are celebrating 34 years, and that's not bragging or complaining. That's just a statement of fact.
Thank you. I'm glad you're not complaining. I have a question for you, so I'm going to have it in front of an audience and some witnesses. What is your...
Here we go.
What is your greatest memory of that day etched in your mind on July 24th, 1987?
This won't surprise you one bit.
I know where you're going with this.
You know how I sweat.
Yes, I know.
You know how I sweat. Mm-hmm. A lot of you out there who are listening don't really know how I sweat.
They don't see you sweat.
When you hear like people say, "Oh, you know, like I'm a pretty heavy sweater," you got nothing on me. I
remember when we used to have a treadmill up along the wall in our old basement, and I had to wipe the walls down from the splattering that occurred.
It has been my great gift in life to be able to look like I'm working by heavy sweating, even while I'm just sitting there. I can sweat. And so the reason why that's a big factor is at our rehearsal dinner, we were with the priest in Blessed Sacrament Church, and it was a hot July summer.
That's what July's
and we went through everything, and the priest was like, "Okay, you guys good?" And I said, "The only thing that I am really asking, I'll handle everything. The only thing I'm asking is please make sure the air conditioning's turned on in this church because I am going to
start it
sweat.
Early." I think is what you said.
Yeah, start early.
Yeah.
And so, all right, great. He's like, "Yeah, no problem. They'll take care of that. No problem." We show up at the church. And there is no AC to be had.
They were just about to turn it on.
There is no AC to be had. If it was 93, 94 degrees outside, it had to be 91 or 92 inside. It was hot. And I'm like, okay. And so there's actually videotape of me. Luckily, I had like about 4 handkerchiefs in my pockets. There's video of me like, I'm literally just dripping. I'm dripping sweat, and I'm wiping it off. Oh my gosh.
We don't have very much video of our wedding because that was before the days of videographers and stuff. So a friend of a family member actually took a little teeny video and they did.
And he might have been pretty inebriated with most of what he was recording. I'm not sure if that thing ever really got.
At the ceremony he wasn't.
But at the reception,
you literally whispering under your breath, "I don't think they turned the air conditioning on." So, well, that's funny that you say that because one of my favorite memories of that day is that once you got past the breaking of the sweat, you were all in. And I remember dancing on that dance floor. We had a live band, which back then, I mean, nowadays you don't see that.
Right.
But back then we had a friend who had a band, and we had a live band.
We had
400 plus people at this wedding.
It was a big
wedding. It was in the basement, church undercroft, and we danced the night away.
Yeah,
and you, by the way, are an amazing dancer.
Well, we'll just keep that right here.
But you hate sweating when you dance. So once you broke the sweat and you took the jacket off and you were all in, it was so much fun. So I love that, dancing with family and friends all night.
That was a fun day. I remember, like, we didn't even eat, even though there was a full meal served. We didn't eat. We didn't even
talking
really
to so many people.
We didn't even really drink because we were just talking, having fun, dancing, and that was a fun day.
So we had to eat. I thought you were going to go. We had to eat Bob Evans like at 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m, we were starving to death.
Back then, they stayed up all night, and so I'm eating chicken noodle soup at 2 a.m. because I was like starving, and Like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do it. So,
All right, so
but that's not what our show's about at all.
Sorry you had to hear all that, folks.
Are we going back to the summer fun? By the way, if you did not catch that episode
I still
last
have
week,
people laughing about my big gulp that I had out in the middle of the mountains. So if you didn't listen to our summer fun vacation trips, you got to go back. If nothing else, you'll realize that you're not the only person in the world that people make fun of. So that was good.
In love, of course. Love.
Oh yeah. I definitely felt the love.
Actually, this week's show is a much more serious topic.
So this week's show is a very serious topic. This is a show, a type of show that you, as soon as you hear us get into some of the conversation, you are going to get an image of some family or marriage in your mind. You're going to see it because we see it on a regular basis coming in and out of our office to the point that it's a significant enough story that we feel the need to share it. And our job here is to not point out problems. Our job is to point out a problem and then offer solution to it.
Yeah, so we're not here to push blame on you or make you feel like ashamed. We're here to help. But sometimes we have to recognize the problem first.
So let's just get to the title of that. So we're going to talk, and maybe the title, I don't know, just bear with the title, but it's the idea of divorce and guilty parenting. And we can talk about guilty parenting and how we sometimes parent out of guilt, like, well, I feel bad, so I'm going to go ahead and give in to my kid. But the big lead-in factor to that, the catalyst that makes that happen, often is divorce. Divorce makes us feel bad for the situation we're putting our kids in, and so we overcompensate in ways that do not bear out well for our kids or for the family in general. And so, guys, this is a big enough topic that we see it on a regular basis, and we feel the need to address it to help you. All right. Listen, we'd love to be able to restore the marriage and not even have a divorce. But if we can't do that, if that's too far gone, then this is where we want to spend our next dime and our minute of time.
But let's put a disclaimer here. You don't have to be divorced to be listening to this show, because we know a lot of married couples that have never been divorced or separated that do guilty parenting. And maybe it's because of the way they were raised, or because they're trying to restore a mistake they made, or, people are putting pressure on them to parent in a way they don't think is right. And so we're just going to kind of talk about that today. So if you're not divorced and you are a parent, we still want you to tune in, because there's something, I think, for all of us.
Yeah. So let's thank a few sponsors and then let's get into our show. So we want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions along with Maxwell Construction for coming alongside Rock Solid Radio and supporting the work here that we do and helping us get the messages out to our families in the community. We want to thank these guys. And if you would do us a favor, when you run into them, if you frequent their business, just tell them thank you for offering good community opportunities and learning. And so they do way more than just helping with Rock Solid Radio. Both of these are businesses that just pour into the community at a lot of different levels. So they're a whole lot more than just a landscape company and a building company. They believe in the community.
Yeah. And hun, before we move into our topic, if you are a dad out there specifically, or a mom who has a dad in your home, I would really encourage you to send them to Strong Dads on Saturday mornings. We're going to be talking about this guilty parenting thing, and sometimes we just don't know what the alternative should be. And so sometimes it takes community for you to hear and bounce things off other men, other healthy men, Christian men who can maybe help you kind of sort out what is right and what is not the best for your family. And tell them a little bit about when Strong Dads happens, huh?
Yeah, so our Strong Dads class, we've been running it nonstop through the year, and like most fitness stuff, it tends to wane a little bit during the summer. People are busy with ball games and things, and so we're still running, and we have a small group of guys that show up, but we really want to start to push again as we get into the cooler fall season and school begins back up, that we get a larger group of guys back in, because what we do is we start at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And we come in and we do a good workout. It's only a 45-minute workout, and the workout is meant to get your heart pumping, do a little bit of conditioning, strength building, but it's not designed to be your end all be all.
Your only workout of the week.
Right? No, it's there to kind of just get us moving and make sure that we get some exercise in, get the blood flowing. The following 45 minutes after that is actually really where Strong Dads takes place. It's really where the strengthening takes place. We talk about conversations like this that we're going to have here today. We talk about challenging men. We talk about every one of us guys that come in there have a brokenness in our past or a part of our character flaw. And, that's a safe place to just let it hang out there and then try to work on it and try to understand it and try to be better. So we want to challenge all of our dads out there that if you want something better for your family, join us on Saturday mornings for Strong Dads.
Yeah. So as we get into this topic, we just want to make sure and maybe you're listening and you are a current client or maybe a future possible client, that we're going to be talking about some generalities, okay? We are not going to use names and we're not going to use specifics. So if we start talking and you're feeling like we're telling your story, maybe that's the Lord's prompting that you should be listening. But we're not going to out anybody because this is something we see over and over again. There's patterns here in divorced families and blended families that we really see across the board, you and I both. Today in our sessions this week, last month, last year. And so please just know we hold confidence very importantly in our practice, but yet we see these trends that we really feel like we need to be addressing.
I like the word you just used there, Hun, the pattern. Yeah. And a pattern is a predictable sort of behavior or outcome that you're seeing come out. And so if you hear us describing something, one thing that you can kind of rest in is knowing that, I'm not the only one with this challenge because it's how human behavior comes out. And these are the patterns that happen and we see. And so many patterns are good patterns. We want to keep them and reinforce them. But a lot of times we see a pattern that leads to destruction. And we're going to even explain how this particular guilty parenting will lead to destruction that will lay itself out in your kids' lives. And even further down the road. Yeah. So please hang in there with us.
This phrase guilty parenting actually comes out of our work with boundaries, where we really talk about the law of motivation. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is it out of guilt? Is it out of fear? Is it out of shame? Or obligation? And so what we find is sometimes we parent and make decisions, not because we feel like it's the right decision or that we really feel comfortable in it, but because we feel like we have to, because of the ex-spouse or maybe the boyfriend of our ex. And so we really got to be careful of why we're making the decisions. Are they out of healthy decision making, or is it out of emotions and hurt and blame and all kinds of wrong, dangerous emotions?
We seldom ever do a show, Hun, where we're talking about challenges and we don't bring in the term emotions. And that is, again, at the root of this particular issue. When there is divorce, there is typically pain and hurt. And those pains and hurts drive emotions, and emotions create energy to do things, okay? And a lot of times when it's emotional, it's kind of almost survival mode. Like, it's my last-ditch effort. I've got to do this in order.
Hurts.
Yeah, and so I do things that with a logical mind, I would know that's probably not a good thing to do. So recognizing that if you are finding yourself in the middle of this, or you're seeing it out of your spouse, recognizing that, there's a level of hurt here. Yeah. And so we have got to create a different environment. We're going to talk about how we do that, okay?
Yeah.
So, Hun, just for the sake of creating the picture, give us maybe a general story of how you see a guilty parenting. Like, what might it look like?
Yeah. Well, when we have a blended family or a divorced family, you've got a manipulation going on. A child's going to be a child, and they're going to try to get what they want, and they see almost, I call it, they smell blood in the water. They can see it, that people are hurting, people are wounded, there's emotion, and they're going after that like a shark does with blood in the water. And so they're coming in for the kill, not because they hate you, but because they're hurting too, and because they have these selfish desires, which all kids do, to get what they want. And so we see them playing one for the other. And so if you stand your ground, for instance, let's just use the phone, because that's a really big, huge manipulation tool.
We see that one
We see it all the time, where maybe one parent says, no, you're not ready for a phone. And so the other parent says, no, I think they are. And they go ahead and they'll buy one, maybe even sneak one to that child. And then we have this game being played of, okay, do I want my child to want to live with me or be my friend? Or am I going to do what I think is best for my child at this age?
Early on, hun, like if I'm talking about kids who are 3 and 4 years old, you use the phrase like the kids are looking for like kind of like blood in the water, like a shark going after that. And early on, they do not actually have that conscious thought.
Right.
They don't, plot and plan in their bedroom. Oh yeah, now if I do this, they don't have to. They are instinctive and they're trying to get their way, as you talked about. And so it's important to know that this is very natural, that kids are going to try to get their way.
Right.
But by the time we see them into their double digits, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, actually, to be honest, we do see kids go back in their bedroom and plot this out. Like, well, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Dad then if I can't ask Mom. They
Right.
actually will have the thought process going.
Yeah. So let's do the first thing is let's separate the kids' drama from the adult drama. There has been pain. There has been maybe betrayal. Maybe there has been lies. And so we've got to make sure that we as adults handle that in an adult private manner. Okay. Our kids do not need to be swooped up in the middle of what they cannot process and handle. Please. We see so many kids who are coming in wounded and confused and honestly acting out of pain and out of really oblivious to what in the world is happening in my life and how do I restore order? How do I get back to a safe, secure environment?
Yeah, protecting your kids from the drama does not mean that they don't know that there's a problem.
Right.
Okay. Like we've actually had kids that all of a sudden talk about a divorce that happened at some point in time, and they go, "We had no clue. We had no clue. We didn't even know that there was an issue with mom and dad." And all of a sudden, one day they said, "We're splitting up." So that's not the level of separation we're talking about. What we're talking about is the dirty, hurtful, emotional side, and throwing that around. As if the kids need to hear that stuff. And so to counter that as part of the advice, I love when I see this come out. And this is a messy situation, but I love when I see this, when I hear a parent say, your mom and I don't always get along, but that's your mother, and she loves you, and we are going to respect her.
Yes.
Guys, that is the greatest gift that you can give to the parenting process, because right away your kid knows, listen, you're still going to honor their mother, and you are still called to honor their mother. You may not see her as your wife anymore, but you are called to honor their mother.
Yeah.
And so that right there is a huge gift. So your kids will see, okay, like Dad still is going to try to honor her.
Yeah. And, again, let's separate the kid drama from the adult drama. Okay, we're going to try to not have any drama, period. But sometimes I see parents resorting back to kid ways of manipulation and sneaking and lying and two-faced talk. And so the kid sees that. They actually hear you say, hey, don't tell mom this. Don't tell dad this. This is a secret between us. And it's like, what are you doing? Because here's what's the deal. Your kids are watching. They're watching both sides of the fence, and they're trying to distinguish who's being honest and truthful with me. Who do I trust in? Who do I follow? And so if your words and your actions are not matching, if you are one way to somebody and then completely stabbing someone in the back another time, then your kids are hearing that and seeing that, and they're all putting that in their memory bank.
Right. When you're going through a hurt like this, you forget what Matthew 7:3 says. You know what Matthew 7:3 is. This is the scripture about, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eyes and pay no attention to the plank in your own? When you're going through a hurtful situation like this, it is by your nature that everything your partner, your ex does that bothers you, you put a spotlight on it. And you want to know it, and you want the kids to know it, and you want everybody else to know it, okay? Because you want people to know how bad that person is. In the meantime, you are neglecting the plank in your own. Yeah. Okay, and if you want to teach your kids something well, admit to them right off the bat.
Right.
Mommy's not perfect here. Daddy's not perfect here. We have our challenges, and we are working to get through them, so that they are not becoming hypercritical of things that are not going to fare well for this family.
This is no secret because we've talked about it in shows before, but your parents divorced after 30-something years of marriage because of an affair your father had, which, we've talked about before. But some of the greatest memories of your mom, who is now passed, was the fact that she kept loving your dad as the father of her children.
Right.
And she did not throw him under the bus. Even though she was hurt and betrayed in very deep ways, she extended grace, but yet still had healthy boundaries.
Right.
And so I knew what had happened. They didn't keep that a secret, but that she did not kind of stir the pot and muddy the waters and get people to side with her. And that was the greatest gift your mom really ever gave us. And honestly, your dad too, because he owned it.
Yeah.
He admitted what he did, and he admitted that he was at fault for doing this. But it was just really powerful the way they handled that.
Yeah. And it's like watching my mom do that became important because the divorce is going to cause hurt. So let's just call that what it is. That's why we first and foremost want to prevent that. And there's no easy way around that hurt. But what happens after the divorce is going to play out even larger.
Yeah.
Because these are the things that your kids are watching. Okay, your kids are watching everything you do. They're watching and hearing your talk. They're seeing how you work through your own problems and your challenges. They're recognizing you and your weakness, okay? And so the whole idea here is, mom, dad, no matter how bad each other is, in your kids' eyes, you are their hero.
Yeah.
And when you start to paint a dark picture of either one of you or the ex, you are hurting your kid's hero. You know, we talk all the time about role models. Well, professional athletes shouldn't be role models and this, that, and the other. And that's a whole different debate. We can get into that. But you as parents should be role models because you are the first model for these kids to look at. And so it's very important that you hold their heroes up and that you recognize that you are a hero. Like, you're not perfect, but you are a person who's trying to do well by your kids.
And this is a great time to interject the whole idea of a faith piece to that, because we don't want you to elevate yourself to be a god.
Right.
You're not on a pedestal because you've probably already fallen off many, many times. And so the faster we can help our kids see, hey, I am human and I've made mistakes that have hurt our family, and I own those. And there is a God who has forgiven me, and I'm asking you to forgive me, but I know that I've hurt our family, and it may take time, and I'm going to be patient. But if you own that and you don't minimize or justify or rationalize or elevate yourself to being the right person in this situation, your kids, I'm telling you, they're just going to have a healthier time of healing from that pain than if you kind of brush it in the rug or minimize it or elevate yourself.
Yeah, anytime we're dealing with any kind of challenge, typically the challenge that comes in our office is that the other person wants the other person to get fixed. Well, as soon as they start doing
blame.
this, and so really, the faster we can get through that and say, what do I need to work on? What can I do? And both of us doing that same thing, we're going to get more healing, and your kids are going to see that.
Yeah. I'm going to use this phrase again because I do it in a lot of shows, but people constantly come back to me and say, this was impactful for me. Even if I feel like I am 5% in the wrong.
Yeah.
And my partner had an affair and lied and snuck and it was 95% their fault. Own that 5%, because that brings in humility. That brings in that I am not perfect.
What if the other person's not going to bring in humility?
That's a great question. Then you leave that one up to the Lord.
Well, and you continue to bring in your humility.
Exactly.
You continue to do that, and that is hugely hard, right?
Justice is mine, says it the Lord.
That's right. And so, so even if you're only 5% wrong and the other one's 95%, and everybody knows it, okay, you still own your 5.
Yeah.
That's the best chance you have of getting your life back and you becoming healthy. But it's also one of the strongest things that you can do to help the other person see that they need to have some humility.
Yeah,
so you still own it, and let us be very clear. That makes it even harder when they're not going to own it. But you still step up.
The emperor who has no clothes. He's not going to own it, but everybody around him knows. And please, it's not saying that they're off the hook. Okay? It's not yours to get revenge on, because your kids see a revengeful, bitter spirit, and that's not helping your relationship with them or healing for your family.
Yeah. So once we're dealing with all of who's going to own what, our next step, hon, this is something, and man, this is a stumbling block, but this is where I have said it in other shows. We try to practice it. I invite people into special sessions for this reason. We need exes to get together for the sake of developing a parenting value and belief system and structure. They have to come together and not make assumptions. We have to get them together and say, listen, I may not like you on an emotional or an sexual or intimate. Like, I don't want to do life with you anymore intimately.
I don't trust a word you say.
That's right. But I know that I have to do life with you through my kids. Yeah. And because of that, I'm going to be in a working relationship. So please hear me out. This is a working relationship. You and I have both worked with many people over the years that we didn't really, not that we liked or disliked, we just knew we had to get a job done. And the job was more important than our relationship. Please hear that. The job was more important than our relationship. And so that is the mindset that we start to promote when we're working with couples. Like, okay, listen, at this point, this is just another person involved in this job. And so when I can start to lay out, okay, what are we going to stand for?
Yeah.
What do we want the kids to live for? And this is where values come out. This is where expectations, this is where rules. Pretty much, I know the homes are going to be very different in terms of their physical surroundings, but I want them to be as close to a carbon copy as I can in terms of, well, if I do this in this house, I know it's going to get the same result in this house in terms of values and expectations. You will save yourself a tremendous amount of headaches, and you will be giving a gift to your child.
Oh my gosh. And that's going to provide the safe, secure environment for your child. Hun, we believe this is even true with school and home, okay? Not just home and home. So if you're not coming from a blended divorced family, talk about the one united front that you can give your child from a teacher's point of view to a parent point of view. You worked as a school counselor for 20 plus years, and so you saw that, how effective it was if mom and dad and the school and everybody involved in that child's life is on the same page.
It creates this thing called security. Yeah. And all kids like security and predictability. When we have security and predictability, the kid will actually develop a greater sense of confidence in understanding how to work through their environment, and they will then be able to work on the skills that are necessary versus trying to how to manipulate.
Now, they're not going to like it at first, especially when exes start to talk and get on the same page. They're going to hate it because they're not going to be able to manipulate. That's exactly what you want, because eventually they're going to rest in the fact of, this is what my life is. We've said this before. Our two oldest boys did not have anything as a backup plan. It was us or it was us. And so the fact that Dad and I were on the same page, we had very little pushback because they really knew there wasn't really anywhere else to go.
If your kid looks at you, and please hear this because we hear this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
If your teenager looks at you and says, I hate living with you, I'm going to go live with Dad, or I'm going to go live with Mom, you and your spouse have created a very caustic environment. As Linda just said, we have to limit their option, not for the sake of punishment, but for the sake of growing them, right? Because they are going to naturally go to where the lowest fruit hangs, where the easiest life is, the least resistance. And that's not to blame them. That is on us as parents. And so we have actually firsthand witnessed this in our own life in a situation where we've been able to work and develop a relationship with our kids' dad. And it's been great because we have a similar value system, and it plays out so much healthier.
Yeah. Our three youngest are adopted, and so there's a biological parents involved that we have to work through. But, you know, Hun, again, it's not the child's fault. It's the parents' fault that they have allowed the child to run from conflict instead of sitting in it and resolving conflict with adults who are acting like adults. But if a child sees a parent throwing a little temper tantrum just like the child, then they're going to run where they think they won't get rules, or they won't get pushback, or they won't have consequences. They're going to go where it's easiest.
Right. Triangulation leads to strangulation.
Oh, I like that one. Say that again.
Triangulation leads to strangulation. So triangulation is just that. It's a triangle. And so I have three different parties. And what often happens when I have three different parties is I try to win my side. So if I can get somebody in the triangle on my side, now it's a 2 becomes against 1, okay? The problem is even though that seems to have a quick, immediate win, the whole triangle eventually falls apart, okay? It chokes itself out. And so I need all three to become one, not just two against one.
Or here's a better, if you are in a blended family situation and your child runs to you and says that mom or dad and their other home is giving them a hard time, okay, you need to tell that child, you need to go back and work it out with mom or dad. Okay, please do not go and save them. Do not come up with the solution and the answer for them. You need to help give them the skills to go back in and work. Now, again, if they need problem-solving skills, that's a different story than saving them or taking their side or triangulating in this problem. We need to have them go back and it being a one-on-one situation.
Yeah. So as we kind of bring things down to an end, divorce is ugly. It hurts, okay? But relationships and family, whether you like it or not, are the core. They are the nucleus of our human race.
Our communities,
It's where it all starts. And one of the things that you can do as a gift for your child is to always talk of value of marriages. Marriages are important. Relationships are important. What tends to happen, and this is what we've seen, we've actually watched the marriage rate decrease over the last 20 years. And it's because, you know what, all these marriages just don't end well, so why even get married?
Why get married?
And you think that would be a good correction? Well, at least we're not married. That doesn't stop people from having sex or having babies. And so now we have fewer marriages, but we have just as many kids being born. And so we've actually even doubled down on the complication, right?
Because now we've shown kids that you don't even bother committing to begin with.
Right.
Instead of commitments that fail or are broken, promises, then we don't even make promises because we're going to break them anyway. What kind of lessons are we teaching our kids that way? We need to show them that yes, we are in it and we commit, and when we say something, our word means something. And then if there is somebody that betrays us or breaks that promise, that there is this thing called forgiveness. Now, forgiveness and trust are very different, and we've done shows on that about forgiveness and rebuilding trust. But the point is that we need to separate them. Forgiveness is for us. Because if we hold on to that unforgiveness and that bitterness, it eats us up. And it's the trust that we have to decide, is this a two-way street that we're willing to do together to help our families?
I'll give you one.
Yeah.
This never does sit well with me.
Uh-oh.
Luke 6:27. But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. There's nothing about that that's easy.
No.
There's nothing about going through a divorce and being hurt by somebody and finding that love. Love does not mean like, so let's be very clear. Okay, like is a feel good. Love is, you know what? I've got to be supporting that the betterment of that person. I want good for that person because they are involved in my child's life. That's what that love is about. And so this is why we're called to love them, because I want the big picture, my kids and then their kids. I want it all to work better than if I just leave this as a messy, ugly divorce with a lot of hurt. So please, this is why our faith stretches us. This is why it's not natural.
Countercultural,
right?
For sure.
It's countercultural. Your friends and buddies will say,
You're nuts.
all kinds of other stuff. This is why we subscribe to the words of Christ.
Yeah, but let's be clear. Love is a decision to treat people with honor and respect, even if they're disrespectful or unhonorable to you. It's not trusting them. It's not going back into a trusting, intimate relationship. We're not saying that. We're saying that God has called all of us to love one another the way he loves us. And the way he loves us is when we don't even deserve it, when we haven't done anything to earn it. And as a matter of fact, the Bible says to heap burning coals on your enemies, to kill them with kindness, basically. And that is the greatest gift you can give your kids. Not to be a doormat, but to love one another the way Christ has loved us. And that kind of love is something that no one can take away.
Right. So our challenge you to this week is not a challenge. It's a proposal. And the proposal is, if you or someone you know is in this situation, in a brokenness, in a separation, or even something that's gone as far as a divorce, and you see kind of the train wreck of parenting going on, please steer them to help. If Rock Solid can be part of that, then reach out to us. You can get us at rocksolidfamilies.org. There's phone numbers, everything. You can get us there. If we're not the answer for that, contact another agency, a church. get help at becoming more humble and being willing to go back to fight for your kids and the quality of their upbringing.
Yeah, and one of the easiest ways you can do that is just share this show online. You don't have to put someone's name on it. You don't have to private message them. Just put it online and just say, hey, this might help some people out there. Because the more we share this message of loving one another, even when they've done nothing to deserve it, is a way that we're going to show kids how we heal our families and how we help our communities and how we become a nation a lot better than it is right now.
Yeah. Okay, so we're wrapping it up. We hope that show has meaning to you. We hope it is something that piqued your interest, or maybe you could see somebody that is could benefit from that. So we want to thank Maxwell Construction and Casey Outdoor Solution again for coming alongside of Rock Solid Radio. We want to thank all of our listeners out there and our viewers. Please keep helping us get the message out there. We love what we're doing, and we love being able to help others in this way. And so help us get that kind of word out. Give us 5-star ratings on any of our platforms and subscribe to our channels. Those are the things that help get the interest in the search engines moving in our favor. So thank you all. Hun, why don't you close us out and let's do some anniversary week stuff.
Ooh, hello. Woo-woo. Ooh, thanks for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day. Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.